Bayou Time Sports is brought to you by Terrible General Health System's Community Sports Institute in conjunction with Barker Honda.
Mike Detillier here with HTV, and I'm with Casey Roussel, former punter at Tulane, also in the National Football League. And Casey, you've been here double-digit years. We sort of lost track of time of exactly how many, but and it's a great camp because you're talking about how this camp has grown from just maybe 150 young men. Now we got over 450 here today. So, man, it's just spectacular to see. It is not the greatest weather, but it's great for us as the sun's not out and beating on us.
Oh, yeah, it's been tremendous. And, you really have to tip your hat to Dr. Elias and the team that he's put together, because these guys don't have to do this, and they put this camp on, and it's just been a tremendous asset to the local community. It's great to see all the different high school kids that show up here last week of July, ready for the season to start, and yet they're still dedicated to come out here. So it's been a very impressive camp, and they've done a tremendous job.
In your line, that from a punting, kicking standpoint, specialist standpoint, that has become such a big part of the game. People always said it's a third of the game. People say, I don't know about a third of the game, but it really plays so much because it's field position, it's making sure that you don't give up the big kickoff return, a big punt return. The blocking part of that has changed dramatically since you were in the league. But it really is a specialist situation today if you're a punter, a kicker, or even in the return game.
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit over the years. Now it changes as you go up in levels, where it starts off with, hey, you're just hoping you have a kid to get the ball down the field, catching it first and then kicking it. But as you go up college and even now in the NFL, it's become really an art of really directional kicking and getting the balls into certain areas of the field with it. So it's improving. It's becoming starting to see a much bigger impact on the game now when you have a very good kicker, a very good punter that can really change field position. It's really a weapon. And if you can win the kicking game, it goes a long way to helping you, give you the best chances of winning the overall game.
Do you see more of an emphasis placed on this in the high school ranks than, say, when you were in high school?
Yeah.
Is there a yes and a no to that?
There is, and I think a lot depends on the mentality of the coaches.
Okay.
If you've got a coach that really understands special teams and understands the power of special teams, and in high school, if you have access to a kid that either plays soccer or can actually, do the job, then yes, you can put more of a focus on it. Unfortunately, a lot of these high school kids are coaches. They're just trying to find anybody who can just get the ball down the field with it. Now, when you get to college, it definitely changes because you can recruit and you can do that sort of thing and make it an emphasis. But in high school, it really depends on the quality of kid you have that can actually move the ball down the field.
I spoke to Lance Moore about this, about name, image, likeness, and certainly it is changing the landscape of certainly in major college sports today. And he was like, listen, I'm all for athletes getting paid. Now, again, there is a point where something's got to be regulated for the amount-wise, where an 18-year-old is making more money than his assistant coach who's coaching him, and how they handle that. But he said one of the things it does is give them an opportunity to work with a specialist, a teacher, somebody who has done it at the highest level. And he said, I think that you didn't have that before. You didn't have the ability. You're from a poor family, you can't work out with a former NFL player. He said, now with this money coming in, it gives them an opportunity that I can work with a high school kid and have it for 2 or 3 weeks, and he's learning from somebody who has actually played the game. So I think that's the positive of it. Now, again, there's some negatives also involved.
Yeah, I think with everything, you got pros and cons, the positives and the negatives with it, and I agree. It's going to give a lot of these young kids the opportunity to take some of that financial pressure off of them, where they can go and have access to these great coaches, these great camps, these things that they never had before that can definitely help them become a better athlete and better player. But at the same time, how are you going to handle that other side of it? What are you going to do when you have kids that never had to manage money before. Now all of a sudden they've got all of this money. How are you going to control that? Whether it's taxes, whether it's financial planning, whether it's just being smart with your money.
And we do a poor job of not teaching our kids that, not only in the schools, but in our homes.
Well,
You got to be able to do that because they're not learning that in school anywhere.
No, and you always had the concept that, hey, whenever you go get a job one day when you finish school,
figured it
then
out.
you're going to figure it out. Well, now you've got high school and college kids that you're giving this money to, and no one's teaching them what to do with it. And unfortunately, a lot of times the parents aren't even really educated on what to do with, they're struggling with it. So how are they going to teach their kid how to do it? So I'm hoping that over the course, how they figure this stuff out, somewhere they put in some regulations, some guidelines to way to help these kids be financially responsible and learn some of this stuff as they deal with the situation.
I remember last year I went and listened to Coach O talk to the LSU team, and one of the things he talked about is, hey, listen, I can forgive you if you screw up. Your mom and dad forgive you if you screw up. Your girlfriend might forgive you if you screw up. No, she might. That's a might, depending on how you messed up. But one person who's never forgiving, Uncle Sam. He's there every year, and he wants his cut. For a lot of these young men, they have no idea about this.
What high school or even college at any basic level teaches kids about taxation?
No.
Credit cards, debt, and all this sort of stuff. No one does any of that. So now you're giving them this money. They have no idea what a tax return is. So how are you going to expect these kids to follow what's going on? So that's why I'm hoping that they plug some of these safeguards, guardrails in here that says, all right, look, if you're going to get this money, this is what comes along with it, that you have to make sure you're taking care of it, because you're right, Uncle Sam's going to come for their piece.
Casey, thanks so much for coming here each and every year, man. We appreciate it. You could be on vacation or you got a lot of work to do, but you come here, and we appreciate you giving your time and efforts.
Oh, and thank you too, buddy. We couldn't do it without you. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
so much. Casey Roussel.